Yasa's mother and wife take refuge. One empty heart becomes a path for an entire family. Buddha story. Yasa lived in a wealthy home in Varanasi, surrounded by music, fine clothes, fragrance, and comfort. From the outside, his life looked full. But deep inside, his heart remained empty. One night, after the music had stopped, and the beauty of the room had faded, he saw how quickly pleasure lost its light. He left the house and walked toward the deer park. There, he met the Buddha. As Yasa listened to the Dharma, he understood that what he had been seeking was not more pleasure, but freedom from suffering. He entered the path of renunciation and became a disciple of the Buddha. Later, his father came searching for him. At first, the father only wanted to bring his son home. But after hearing the Buddha's teaching, he understood that Yasa had not been lost. His son had found a path that led beyond suffering. Now the path returned to the household. Today's story is about Yasa's mother and wife, and how their sorrow became the beginning of their own meeting with the Dharma. Yasa's mother had carried him as a child, and believed that comfort would protect him from suffering. Yasa's wife had also imagined that their life together would continue in the same form. Then, in a single night, Yasa was gone. When someone we love suddenly disappears, the heart often reaches fear before it reaches understanding. The mother wondered whether her son was safe. The wife wondered why he had left without speaking to her. When Yasa's father returned from the deer park, his face no longer carried the same fear with which he had left. They asked him, "Where is Yasa? Is he safe? Why has he not returned with you?" The father answered, "Yasa is safe. He has met the Buddha. He has heard a path that brings peace to the heart. I went out to find my son, but there I also found a path for myself." These words brought relief, but also pain. Yasa was alive, yet he would not return to the life they had known. His mother had hoped to see him again as the son of the household. His wife had hoped to continue life beside him as before. But Yasa's path was no longer a path back into the same life. He had not left because he hated his family. He had left because he could no longer ignore the emptiness in his heart. Yasa's mother may have asked herself, "I gave him everything I knew how to give. Why did I not see his suffering?" Yasa's wife may have wondered, was his leaving a rejection of me? Or had his heart been searching for a path long before he left? When someone changes deeply, those who remain often feel that the change is directed against them. But another person's search for truth is not always a rejection. Sometimes it is the first honest step toward freedom. According to the tradition, Yasa's father invited the Buddha and Yasa to the family home and offered them a meal. The same house that had once been filled with music and pleasure now became a place where the Dharma would be heard. Yasa's mother and wife sat respectfully before the Buddha. They wanted to hear the teaching that had changed Yasa's heart. The Buddha did not blame them for loving him. He showed them how love can become mixed with fear and clinging. The Buddha said, "Women of the household, there is joy in meeting those we love. But what comes together through conditions will also change when conditions change. When the heart demands that changing things remain the same, joy becomes mixed with suffering." They listened in silence. The Buddha continued, "Do not throw away love. Look carefully at what you are holding in the name of love. When you keep another person inside your own wishes, love becomes fear." Their love for Yasa was real. But inside that love was also a wish that he would remain as they knew him. His mother wanted him to stay as the beloved son of the household. His wife wanted him to remain beside her as her husband. These wishes were natural, but they were not the same as Yasa's true condition. The Buddha said, "The body changes, feelings change, thoughts and movements of the mind also change. Relationships do not remain forever in one form. When the heart tries to make change impossible, suffering arises. But when change is seen clearly, clinging becomes weaker and wisdom begins to grow." Yasa's mother remembered the comfort around her son and saw that wealth around the body had not brought peace into the heart. She had known the shape of his life, but not the full depth of his suffering. Yasa's wife also remembered how quiet he had often seemed, even in moments of pleasure. Now she understood that his silence had been the sign of a deeper struggle. The Buddha then spoke about generosity. Giving is not only giving food or wealth. Giving understanding is also generosity. Releasing the wish to possess another person is also generosity. To allow someone you love to walk a wholesome path is a deep form of giving. They had to loosen the wish to pull Yasa back into the old life. To understand the peace he had found, and not to hate the path that gave him that peace, was the generosity now asked of them. The Buddha also spoke about moral discipline. Do not let a wounded heart become cruel speech. Do not let fear become hatred in action. Guard body, speech, and mind, for this protects the heart from deeper suffering. The teaching invited the two women to see the sorrow beneath their anger. Pain could remain without becoming hatred. The Buddha then spoke about the limits of pleasure. A pleasant sound does not remain. A beautiful form changes. Fragrance fades. A joyful meeting also ends when its conditions end. If the heart makes these things its final refuge, it will always fear losing them. But when their changing nature is understood, the heart begins to seek a deeper refuge. Yasa's own life showed this truth. He had not left because he lacked pleasure. He had left because pleasure had shown him its limit. The Buddha then taught suffering and its cause. There is suffering when we cannot remain with those we love. There is suffering when the world does not follow our wishes. There is suffering when the heart clings to a form that cannot stay. But suffering does not arise without a cause. It grows with craving, clinging, and the thought, this person must remain as I want. Then he taught the ending of suffering. When clinging is clearly seen, it begins to weaken. When the thought, this is mine, becomes lighter, the eyes can see another person more clearly. Love does not disappear. It becomes purer. It becomes the love that blesses a wholesome path. Yasa's mother and wife began to see his leaving in a different light. He had not left because he hated them. He had faced his own suffering honestly and found a path that led beyond it. His empty heart had become the doorway through which he met the Buddha. Yasa's mother quietly admitted within herself, my son is not lost. He has found a peace I could not give him. My task is not to force him back into his old life. My task is to understand the Dharma he has found. Yasa's wife also looked into her own heart. His leaving was painful, but his suffering was real. The path he found is not a betrayal. I too must look at my love, my fear, and my clinging. According to the tradition, their minds became ready for deeper understanding. They saw that suffering has a cause and that clinging can be released. They also saw that the Dharma was not only for those who left home. It could be practiced by those who remained in the household. They bowed before the Buddha. Blessed One, now we understand more clearly. Yasa did not leave because he hated his family. He followed a path beyond suffering. We too take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Though we remain in household life, we will keep this teaching as our refuge. The Buddha accepted their refuge. They did not leave the household or go into the forest. But the direction of their hearts changed. They chose to live in the world while keeping the Dharma as their guide. This moment shows that the Buddha's teaching was not only for monks. The Dharma entered the home, the heart of a mother, and the sorrow of a wife. Household life could also become a place of practice. Generosity, moral discipline, and wisdom could grow in the very place where love felt most painful. The house itself remained the same, but the questions inside it had changed. Before, they had asked, what more can we give Yasa so that he will be happy? Now they asked, what must the heart release so that love can become free from fear? Yasa's renunciation did not end with Yasa alone. The emptiness he refused to hide led him to the Buddha. His path reached his father. Through his father, the Dharma entered the family home again. There it reached his mother and wife. One person's suffering became the beginning of understanding for many. When someone in a family changes, the others may first feel only loss. But some changes are not betrayal, and some departures are not born from hatred. Sometimes a person must move toward truth because the old life can no longer carry the weight of the heart. The Dharma does not make love cold. It removes some of the blindness that can enter love. Love without wisdom tries to control. Love with wisdom learns to bless. Love without understanding says, return to the life I chose for you. Love with understanding says, may you walk the path that truly leads beyond suffering. Yasa's mother and wife did not receive a dramatic miracle. They received a clearer way of seeing. They listened to the Buddha and discovered that letting go did not mean loving less. It meant loving with less fear. Their refuge was quiet, but deep. It was not only a new belief spoken with the mouth. It was a change in the direction of love. The empty heart of one person had first brought sorrow to the family. But because Yasa faced it honestly, it became a path that opened the hearts of his father, mother, and wife. In this way, the calm light of the Dharma moved from the deer park into a home. It entered waiting, tears, questions, and memory. The Dharma did not remain far away in the forest. It made a path through family worry and showed that love can remain even when possession is released. One empty heart was not the end. It became the beginning of a path for an entire family. When we can bless instead of hold, the quiet of the deer park may also enter our own hearts. May peace remain with you today, and may you see love with a little more clarity. The first mission of the Dharma. Do not let two travel by the same road. After Yasa's family took refuge, the Dharma no longer remained only within the quiet boundaries of the deer park. According to the early Buddhist tradition, Yasa's close friends also came to hear the teaching. Vimala, Subahu, Panaji, Gavampati, and many others entered the path, and before long there were 60 disciples who had directly understood the Dharma. They had not only memorized the Buddha's words, they had seen craving, clinging, suffering, and release within their own minds. They knew that the path was not a distant promise. It could be practiced and realized. This is where today's story begins. It is the story of the moment when the Buddha sent the 60 disciples away from the deer park so the Dharma could reach the wider world. The deer park had become a place of peace. The disciples could have remained there together, listening to the Buddha and protecting the calm they had found. But the Buddha did not want the Dharma to become a treasure kept by a small group. Outside that peaceful place, many people were still living without understanding the roots of suffering. Some were tired from chasing pleasure. Some were trapped in anger. Some carried grief without knowing how to hold it. Others had already begun to feel that the life they knew was not enough. The Buddha saw that compassion could not remain seated in one place. It had to walk toward those who were ready to hear. He gathered the 60 disciples and said, "Monks, I am free from the bonds of the human and heavenly worlds. You also are free from those bonds." These words did not mean that the disciples had become clever speakers. They were ready because they had lived the truth they were about to teach. The Buddha did not send them out before their hearts were ready. First, they had to see the road. Then they could help others see it. The Buddha continued, "Go forth, monks. Go for the welfare of many and for the happiness of many. Go out of compassion for the world. Teach for the good and happiness of human and heavenly beings." The purpose of the mission was clear. They were not being sent to build power, defeat other teachers, or gather people around their own names. They were being sent because beings were suffering. The Dharma was to be shared as medicine, not as a weapon. It was to be offered as a lamp, not as a chain. The happiness the Buddha spoke about was deeper than comfort or temporary pleasure. It was the peace that appears when greed, hatred, and delusion begin to cool. The Buddha then said, "Teach a Dharma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. Teach it with true meaning and clear expression. Show a life of practice that is complete and pure." The teaching had to remain wholesome from beginning to end. It could not begin with gentle words and later become fear. It could not promise freedom and then create dependence. At the beginning, the Dharma helps a person recognize suffering honestly. In the middle, it shows the causes of suffering and the possibility of release. At the end, it offers a path that can be lived. The words and the life of the teacher also had to agree. A monk could not speak of simplicity while chasing gifts. He could not speak of peace while looking down on others. The Dharma had to become visible in the way one walked, answered questions, and met those who disagreed. Then the Buddha gave the instruction that became the sign of this first mission. "Do not let two of you travel by the same road." The words were simple, but their meaning was wide. The Buddha was not telling the disciples to reject one another. He was opening as many roads as possible. If each monk followed a different road, 60 paths would open. One more village might hear the teaching. One more grieving parent might understand. One more person trapped in anger might see another way. The Buddha said, "There are beings with little dust in their eyes. If they do not hear the Dharma, they may fall away. If they hear it, some will understand." The disciples did not know where those people were. They did not know which village held a person ready to listen or which stranger had already begun to question his life. That was why they had to go. Some people would listen with respect. Some would doubt. Some would laugh or turn away. But the disciples were not responsible for forcing belief into another person. Their task was to offer the Dharma clearly and compassionately. They could show the road. They could not drag anyone along it. Real guidance does not seize another person's mind. It creates a space in which that person can see. The disciples would meet people from many kinds of life. They would meet farmers worried about rain, merchants worried about loss, parents afraid for their children, and families carrying grief. They would meet ascetics proud of their discipline and people who had never heard that suffering could be understood. The center of the Dharma was the same, but the way of speaking could not always be identical. To a grieving person, the teaching had to begin with compassion. To an angry person, it had to show the fire already burning within. To a person lost in pleasure, it had to show the difference between delight and peace. The disciples had to listen before they spoke. They had to see the person, not only the doctrine. The 60 disciples also had no reason to compete. No one needed to count how many followers he gained or how many villages knew his name. The mission was not measured by fame. If one person understood anger more clearly, the journey had meaning. If one person stopped harming others, the journey had meaning. The disciples were being scattered, but they were not being divided. They would walk different roads from the same compassion. The Sangha remained one when people lived by the same Dharma, even far from one another. The Buddha trusted awakened disciples to carry the teaching responsibly. They were not asked to make people dependent on them. They were asked to help people see for themselves. The Buddha then told them that he too would leave. Monks, go your separate ways. I also will travel to Uruvela, to the village of Sanani, in order to teach the Dharma. He did not send the disciples into difficulty while remaining in comfort. The Buddha himself returned to the road. Awakening had not made him distant from the world. It had made his compassion active. He did not wait for all suffering people to find him. He walked toward them. The 60 monks prepared to leave the deer park. They had no horses, wealth, or guards. They carried robes, bowls, and the training they had received. Their outer possessions were few, but they carried confidence that suffering could end. They carried a way of life that did not depend on violence. They carried the calm of those who had looked closely at the mind. Different roads waited before them. Some led through forests. Some passed through villages and marketplaces. Some crossed rivers or stretched through dry land. The monks did not know what food they would receive, where they would rest, or who would listen. Still, they stepped forward. Do not let two of you travel by the same road. The instruction separated their footsteps, but not their purpose. One monk turned east. Another walked west. Others followed roads toward villages whose names have not been preserved. They did not leave because life together had failed. They left because the peace they had found was not meant to remain private. Their separation was an expression of generosity. The Dharma was not reduced when it was shared. Peace did not become smaller because another person found it. The more clearly wisdom was lived and offered, the more widely its light could appear. From that day, the teaching began to move beyond the deer park. What had first passed from the Buddha to 5 monks now lived in 60 awakened disciples. Through their words and conduct, it would enter homes, roads, fields, and distant communities. This was the beginning of Buddhist mission, but it was also a lesson about compassion. Compassion does not remain as a feeling of pity. It takes a step. It goes where suffering is. It listens to the person who is ignored. It shares what is helpful without forcing it. The disciples were not sent to win arguments. They were sent to open possibilities. Their conduct would often speak before their words. A calm answer in the face of insult could become a teaching. Treating a poor person and a rich person with equal respect could become a teaching. Refusing to return anger with anger could become a teaching. The Dharma could be heard in speech, but it also had to be seen in life. Yet sharing the Dharma must begin with our own practice. We cannot guide others toward a road we refuse to walk. Before speaking about peace, we must look at the anger we protect. Before speaking about letting go, we must see what we are still grasping. Before speaking about compassion, we must notice whom we have placed outside our care. The 60 disciples were not performers sent to impress the world. They were people who had directly lived the teaching. Their freedom gave weight to their words. Their simplicity made the Dharma believable. The scene of the monks leaving the deer park was not grand. There were no banners, armies, or crowds. There were only quiet men standing before different roads. Yet from those steps, a long history began. One teaching became many journeys. One place opened into many directions. The Buddha did not ask the disciples to remain close so that his following would look large. He asked them to go far so that suffering people might hear. He did not say, "Stay and make my name greater." He said, "Go for the welfare and happiness of many." This is the heart of the story. The Dharma moves outward when compassion becomes larger than comfort. The first mission teaches that awakening naturally opens into responsibility. When the heart becomes free, it does not turn away from those still bound. It turns toward them without pride. It does not say, "I am higher." It says, "There is a path, and it can be walked." The 60 disciples stepped onto different roads, but each road carried the same quiet promise. Suffering can be understood. Its causes can be released. Peace is possible. The path begins where the mind learns to see clearly. Do not let two of you travel by the same road. With these words, 60 paths opened. The stillness of the deer park began to move through forests, villages, and human hearts. May your words and steps today become a small lamp for someone who is searching for a way beyond suffering. Uruvela Kassapa takes refuge. A powerful ascetic meets a deeper path. After sending the first 60 disciples into the world, the Buddha also began walking again. He traveled toward Uruvela, a quiet region near the Naranjara River. This was close to the place where he had practiced before awakening. In Uruvela lived a famous ascetic named Kassapa. He was known as Uruvela Kassapa. According to early Buddhist tradition, he led 500 followers. They wore matted hair, practiced strict discipline, and performed rituals with sacred fire. Many people respected Kassapa as a holy man. He had practiced for years, guided ceremonies, and trained many disciples. Deep in his heart, he believed that he had already reached the highest state. It is difficult to question a path that has shaped an entire life. It becomes even harder when many people praise us and wait for our guidance. Kassapa was sincere and disciplined. But even sincere practice can hide pride. The Buddha came to meet Kassapa without argument or display. He simply asked for a place to stay for the night. The Buddha said, "Kassapa, if you allow it, I would like to spend the night in your fire chamber." Kassapa hesitated. Tradition says that a dangerous serpent lived there. It was believed to be fierce, poisonous, and filled with fiery power. Kassapa warned him, "Great ascetic, you may stay there, but a dangerous serpent lives inside. It may harm you." The Buddha answered calmly, "Kassapa, it will not harm me." At last, Kassapa gave permission. That evening, the Buddha entered the chamber and sat quietly. During the night, the serpent became angry. Tradition says that smoke and fire filled the room. Outside, Kassapa and his followers saw the light and believed the strange ascetic had surely been destroyed. But when morning came, the Buddha was sitting unharmed. The serpent had lost its power and rested inside the Buddha's bowl. The Buddha showed it to Kassapa and said, "Kassapa, here is the serpent you feared." Kassapa was deeply amazed. He could no longer believe that the visitor was ordinary. Still, one thought remained in his mind. This ascetic has great spiritual power. But he is not fully awakened as I am. This thought returned again and again. Kassapa recognized the Buddha's unusual abilities, but he could not accept that the Buddha had reached a freedom deeper than his own. Seeing something new does not always change an old belief. The eyes may witness the truth while the mind continues protecting its former position. For Kassapa, the hardest obstacle was not the serpent or the fire. It was the belief that he had already completed the path. The Buddha remained near Kassapa's settlement for some time. Early Buddhist texts describe several unusual events during this period. Again and again, Kassapa saw qualities he could not explain. The Buddha remained calm in danger and seemed to know what others could not know. Each event caused surprise, but surprise did not immediately become humility. Kassapa continued thinking, "He is a powerful ascetic. But he is not an arahant like me." One day, Kassapa prepared a large fire sacrifice. Many people were expected to come. Food, gifts, and offerings had been gathered. It was an event where Kassapa's position and reputation would be clearly seen. Tradition says that a hidden wish arose in his mind. He hoped the Buddha would not attend. If the Buddha came, the crowd might pay more attention to him. Kassapa did not speak this wish aloud. But the Buddha understood it and stayed away. After the event, Kassapa visited him. He asked, "Great ascetic, why did you not come yesterday? Food had been prepared, and a place was ready for you." The Buddha answered, "Kassapa, did you not wish that I would stay away?" Kassapa became silent. The thought he believed was hidden had been seen clearly. Once again, he understood that the Buddha's awareness was deep. But still he thought, "This ascetic can know another person's mind. Yet he is not an arahant like me." Kassapa truly believed in his own path. He had practiced for years and guided hundreds of followers. His whole life supported the idea that he had reached the goal. But practice can become another place for the self to hide. A person may think, "I have practiced longer than others. I understand more than others. I live more purely than others." The words sound spiritual, but they can still strengthen the feeling of I and mine. Kassapa had given up many worldly things. Yet he had not given up the image of himself as a fully awakened teacher. The Buddha did not try to defeat him through miracles. Miracles may create wonder, but wonder does not cut the root of attachment. Kassapa needed to see the truth of his own mind. At last, the Buddha spoke directly. "Kassapa, you are not an arahant. You have not entered the path to arahantship. The practice you are holding does not lead to complete awakening." These words struck the place Kassapa had protected most carefully. For years, people had called him holy. 500 followers trusted his direction. He believed his path was complete. Now the Buddha told him that he had not reached the goal. Kassapa could have become angry. He could have defended himself or walked away. But something changed within him. He sensed that the Buddha was not speaking from competition. There was no desire to shame him or steal his followers. The Buddha was pointing toward a truth Kassapa had avoided. For the first time, Kassapa looked at himself without the protection of his title. His years of discipline had not been useless. They had trained him to endure hardship and live with restraint. But he had not fully seen pride. He had controlled outer fire, but he had not understood the inner fire of self-importance. He had guarded the sacred flame, but he had not noticed how strongly he guarded the thought, "I am already complete." That thought had stopped him at the door of deeper understanding. Kassapa finally became honest with himself. What broke was not his true dignity. What broke was the illusion that had covered it. He bowed before the Buddha and said, "Blessed One, please allow me to leave the household life under your guidance. Please allow me to receive the training and follow the Dharma." The man who had trusted his own power now placed himself before a deeper path. The Buddha did not immediately accept Kassapa alone. Kassapa was responsible for 500 followers. They had trusted him and built their lives around his teaching. The Buddha said, "Kassapa, you are the teacher of 500 ascetics. You should first tell them what you have decided. They must be allowed to choose their own path." This was an important act of respect. The Buddha did not treat Kassapa's followers as property. Taking refuge cannot be forced. A spiritual decision must come from understanding and willingness. Kassapa returned to his followers. He told them what he had seen. He admitted that he had believed himself to be fully awakened. He explained that after meeting the Buddha, he had recognized a path deeper than his own. His followers knew him well. They knew that he was not a man who bowed easily. If such a teacher admitted that he had more to learn, they understood that the reason must be serious. According to tradition, the 500 ascetics chose to follow him. They carried their fire ritual tools to the Naranjara river. They placed the vessels and objects into the flowing water. The old tools drifted away. This was more than the disposal of physical things. It showed a change in direction. For years, they had looked to outer fire for purity and power. Now they were preparing to look at the fires within the mind. The fire of craving, the fire of anger, the fire of ignorance. Kassapa and his followers approached the Buddha and asked to enter the path. The Buddha accepted them. He said, "Come, monks. The Dharma has been well taught. Live the holy life for the complete ending of suffering." Kassapa had once been the teacher of hundreds. Now he became a disciple. But this did not make him smaller. It made his practice honest. He was no longer using his strength to protect an image. He was using it to walk toward freedom. Admitting that we are wrong is not always defeat. Sometimes it is the beginning of wisdom. A person who refuses correction may appear strong, but remains trapped inside his own position. A person who can say, "I have not seen everything," becomes able to learn. The story of Kassapa is not about a weak man surrendering to a stronger man. It is about a sincere practitioner recognizing the most subtle form of clinging within himself. The fire he worshipped burned outside. The fire the Buddha taught him to see burned inside. Outer rituals may create discipline and devotion. But if craving, anger, and pride remain untouched, suffering continues. This is also true in our own lives. Experience and confidence can help us grow, but they become obstacles when they close the door to learning. The thoughts "I already know and I cannot be wrong" may feel safe, yet they can keep truth outside. Sometimes a deeper path comes through words that make us uncomfortable. Sometimes it appears when another person sees something we have missed. Sometimes it begins when we lower our pride and become willing to learn again. The river carried away the tools of the old rituals. The 500 ascetics stood before a new life. They had spent years tending flames. Now they would learn to watch sensations, thoughts, desires, and attachments. They would learn that the mind becomes free not by proving its power, but by understanding what causes it to burn. We may also have our own sacred fires. They may be habits we have followed for years. They may be roles that bring us respect. They may be opinions we cannot imagine changing. These things are not always wrong. But when they prevent us from seeing clearly, the time comes to loosen our hold. The old fire ritual tools drifted down the Naranjara River. Kassapa and his 500 followers stood at the beginning of another kind of practice. The outer flames were becoming quiet. The work of understanding the inner flames was about to begin. May the courage to learn again remain within you today. May you meet your own certainty with honesty, and may humility open the door to a deeper peace and freedom. The Fire Sermon. Seeing the flames of attachment and the senses. After Uruvela Kassapa took refuge in the Buddha, his 500 followers also left their fire rituals and entered a new path. For years, they had guarded sacred flames and believed that outer fire could bring purity and spiritual power. But the Buddha was about to show them a fire much closer than any flame on an altar. It was the fire burning within the senses, feelings, and mind. The Buddha stayed with the monks near Yasa, not far from Gaya. The hills were quiet, and the wind moved gently through the trees. Outwardly, the place seemed peaceful. Yet even in a peaceful place, the mind can remain restless. Entering the monastic life does not make every attachment disappear at once. The eyes still see, the ears still hear, and the body still feels. The senses continue to meet the world. The question is what happens in the mind when they do. This teaching later became known as the Fire Sermon. It was especially meaningful for men who had centered their lives on fire. They understood how a flame begins, how it grows, and how it consumes whatever becomes its fuel. Now the Buddha used that familiar image to reveal the burning within the heart. He said, "Monks, everything is burning." The Buddha continued, "What is burning? The eye is burning. Visible forms are burning. Eye consciousness is burning. The contact between the eye and visible forms is burning. The feelings that arise from that contact, whether pleasant, painful, or neutral, are also burning." Then he spoke about the other senses. The ear is burning, and sounds are burning. The nose is burning, and smells are burning. The tongue is burning, and tastes are burning. The body is burning, and physical sensations are burning. The mind is burning, and thoughts, memories, and ideas are burning. The Buddha asked, "With what are they burning?" Then he answered, "They are burning with the fire of craving. They are burning with the fire of anger. They are burning with the fire of ignorance. They are burning with birth, aging, sickness, and death. They are burning with sorrow, grief, pain, distress, and despair." The eye sees a form. In the next moment, the mind may say, "I want that." The ear hears a painful sentence. The mind may say, "I hate this." A pleasant feeling appears. The mind wants it to remain. An unpleasant feeling appears. The mind wants it to disappear. The feeling changes, but the mind continues to hold it. That holding becomes fuel. The Buddha was not saying that the senses themselves were sinful. He was showing how quickly the mind turns a simple experience into suffering. Seeing happens, and then desire may follow. Hearing happens, and then anger may follow. A feeling appears, and the mind immediately decides whether to chase it or resist it. The original experience may last only a moment. But craving and resistance can keep it burning long after the moment has passed. We often believe that the fire comes entirely from outside. We say that another person made us angry or that a situation created all our fear. Outer conditions do matter. Yet the Buddha pointed to the place where suffering grows within us. It grows in the way the mind receives, interprets, repeats, and holds experience. The former fire ascetics had carefully guarded flames outside themselves. Now they were asked to observe the flames that rise when the senses meet the world. A beautiful sight may become a spark of desire. A harsh word may become a spark of anger. A memory may become fuel when the mind repeats it again and again. The Buddha did not tell the monks to hide these reactions or pretend that they had already disappeared. He asked them to see each reaction clearly. The first step in extinguishing a fire is knowing that a fire is present. If a person insists, "I am never angry," anger can continue burning unseen. If a person believes, "I have no attachment," attachment may remain hidden beneath spiritual pride. But when we notice what the eyes chase, what the ears reject, and what the mind keeps repeating, the fire begins to lose some of its power. Awareness does not fight the flame. It does not condemn the person who is burning. It simply sees where the heat begins and what keeps it alive. The Buddha then explained where this clear seeing leads. He said, "Monks, when a wise disciple sees in this way, he becomes disenchanted with the eye." This does not mean hatred of life. It does not mean rejecting beauty or harming the body. It means that the mind is no longer deceived by the promise that a passing sensation can provide permanent satisfaction. A wise disciple does not become bitter toward the world. Instead, the disciple stops expecting lasting safety from what cannot remain. A beautiful sight may still be appreciated, but it is no longer treated as something that must be possessed. A painful sound may still hurt, but it is no longer repeated as fuel for endless anger. A pleasant feeling may still be pleasant, yet the mind understands that it will change. An unpleasant feeling may still be difficult, yet the mind also knows that it will not remain forever. This clear understanding weakens fascination and fear. The senses continue to function, but they no longer rule the heart in the same way. The word translated as disenchantment points to the fading of intoxication. The mind wakes from the belief that one more pleasure, one more victory, or one more possession will finally make everything secure. When that illusion weakens, craving also begins to weaken. The Buddha continued, "When disenchantment arises, craving fades. When craving fades, the mind is released. When the mind is released, there is the knowledge, it is released. One understands, birth is ended, the holy life has been lived, and what had to be done has been done." This is the freedom at the heart of the fire sermon. The Buddha was not teaching the destruction of sensation. He was teaching the ending of the fire that clings to sensation. Freedom appears when the mind can experience a sight, sound, feeling, or thought without building a prison around it. A flame grows when fuel is added. If no more fuel is offered, the flame begins to weaken. The same is true of the mind. When a pleasant sight appears, we can notice attraction without immediately following it. When a painful word is heard, we can notice anger without building a long story around it. When a memory returns, we can recognize it as a passing mental event rather than a permanent self. This does not mean becoming cold or without feeling. It means feeling clearly without becoming consumed. A fire weakens when no more fuel is added. In the same way, a reaction weakens when it is seen without being fed by more desire, more judgment, and more repetition. This is why every ordinary moment can become a place of practice. The moment of seeing can reveal craving. The moment of hearing can reveal anger. The moment of thinking can reveal confusion. The same moment can also reveal awareness, restraint, and release. For the monks who had once worshipped outer fire, this teaching reached deeply. They had believed purity came through maintaining sacred flames. The Buddha now showed them that true purification comes through understanding greed, hatred, and delusion. According to tradition, many monks attained deep freedom while listening to this sermon. They did not become free because they witnessed another miracle. They became free because the teaching illuminated their own experience. They saw directly that what they called mine was changing. They saw that clinging was fire. They saw that the fire could end. The story is ancient, but the teaching speaks clearly to life today. Every day, the senses receive countless impressions. We see images that awaken desire and comparison. We hear words that touch old wounds. We remember, imagine, judge, and fear. The body may be sitting still while the mind burns with a conversation that ended long ago. The room may be quiet while the heart argues with someone who is not present. The fire sermon helps us ask where the heat begins. What sight is the mind chasing? What sound is it resisting? What memory is it feeding? What feeling is it trying to keep forever? The Buddha's path does not begin by blaming ourselves for these reactions. It begins by seeing them. Awareness is not punishment. It is the cool space in which the fire can be understood. When anger appears, we can know that anger is present. When craving appears, we can know that craving is present. We do not have to turn a passing state into a permanent identity. When we stop saying, "This is completely me," the fire receives less fuel. The Buddha did not teach the monks to close their eyes forever. He taught them to see without clinging. He did not teach them to block every sound. He taught them to hear without hatred. He did not teach them to destroy thought. He taught them to understand thought as changing and conditioned. This is a path of wisdom, not escape. Practice happens before anger becomes speech. It happens before desire becomes compulsion. It happens before a passing thought becomes a fixed judgment. The fire sermon invites us to notice the first spark. We cannot prevent every sensation from appearing, but we can learn not to throw more fuel onto it. We can pause and feel the heat. We can ask whether the mind is demanding, "This must stay," or "This must disappear." When that demand is seen clearly, it begins to loosen. The senses meet the world. Feeling appears. Craving may follow. Clinging may grow. Suffering may burn. But awareness can enter the same chain. Wisdom can see the changing nature of experience. Non-clinging can remove the fuel. Peace can emerge where burning once continued. The fire sermon asks us a quiet question. What is burning in the mind now? The Buddha did not cover the flames with comforting words. He showed where they began, what sustained them, and how they could end. The deepest victory is not winning every struggle outside us. It is learning not to be consumed by the fires of craving, anger, and ignorance. May you notice the first spark before it becomes a flame. May clear awareness cool the places where craving and anger have burned. And may peace remain in your heart today as you meet every sight, sound, feeling, and thought without clinging. King Bimbisara takes refuge. Even a powerful ruler needs a place for the heart. After the fire sermon, the Buddha traveled toward Rajagaha, the capital of Magadha. Uruvela Kassapa, his brothers, and many monks walked with him. These men had once guarded sacred fires and followed Kassapa as their teacher. Now they followed the Buddha and practiced the Dharma. News of their arrival spread through Rajagaha. People knew Uruvela Kassapa as a famous ascetic who had led hundreds of followers. When they heard that he had come with the Buddha, they wondered who was the teacher and who was the disciple. King Bimbisara also heard the news. He ruled a large and powerful kingdom. He had soldiers, land, wealth, servants, and royal authority. His words could change the lives of many people. Yet a throne could not remove every fear from his heart. A king had to think about enemies, laws, harvests, alliances, and the safety of his people. He could be surrounded by advisors and still stand alone when a difficult decision had to be made. Power gave him the ability to act, but it did not always show him the wisest path. Early Buddhist tradition says that Bimbisara had carried 5 wishes since his youth. He wished to become king. He wished for a fully awakened Buddha to come to his land. He wished to meet that Buddha. He wished to hear the Dharma. And he wished to understand it. The first wish had already been fulfilled. But the other wishes could not be obtained by royal command. A king could summon officials and soldiers. He could not command awakening to appear. He could not buy wisdom or force the heart to become free. When Bimbisara learned that the Buddha was staying near Rajagaha, he went to meet him. Many ministers, Brahmins, householders, and respected people of the city went with him. The king approached the Buddha, bowed respectfully, and sat to one side. Some people joined their palms. Some introduced themselves. Others remained silent and watched. Many still wondered whether the Buddha followed Kassapa or Kassapa followed the Buddha. The Buddha understood their doubt. He turned to Kassapa and asked, "Kassapa, you practiced the fire ritual for many years. What did you see that caused you to abandon it? Kassapa answered before the king and the crowd. Blessed One, the rituals promised pleasant sights, sounds, tastes, and rewards. But I saw that these things were tied to attachment. I saw that they did not lead to complete peace. The Buddha asked, if you no longer seek peace in those pleasures, where does your mind now rest? Kassapa replied, I have seen a peace that does not depend on clinging. I have seen a path beyond the search for sensual pleasure. That is why I no longer rely on the old ritual. Then Kassapa rose and bowed with his head at the Buddha's feet. He said clearly, the Blessed One is my teacher. I am his disciple. The people now understood. The respected fire ascetic had accepted the Buddha as his teacher. But the Buddha did not ask the crowd to believe only because Kassapa believed. He began teaching step by step so each person could listen and understand. First, he spoke about generosity. He explained that wealth becomes heavy when it is guarded only for oneself. When it is shared wisely, it can relieve suffering and loosen greed. This teaching reached the king directly. The wealth of a kingdom was not meant only for the comfort of the palace. It could protect the weak, support the poor, and create conditions for people to live safely. The Buddha then spoke about ethical conduct. He taught that a person should avoid violence, theft, deception, harmful desire, and careless action. A ruler could make laws for others, but no law could replace the work of examining his own mind. A king who punished dishonesty while serving his own greed had not found true justice. A person who spoke about peace while acting from anger had not yet made peace within. The Buddha explained that wholesome conduct brings trust and clarity. When actions and conscience no longer fight each other, the heart becomes lighter. Then he spoke about the limits of sensual pleasure. A palace could offer fine food, music, beautiful clothing, and comfort. These things might bring enjoyment, but they could not remain forever. The more tightly they were held, the more fear grew around losing them. Pleasure was not a final refuge because it changed. Praise was not a final refuge because people changed. Youth was not a final refuge because the body changed. Even royal power was not a final refuge because conditions changed. The Buddha did not tell Bimbisara to abandon his throne. He showed him that the throne should not become his whole identity. A king could carry responsibility without believing that power made him permanent. He could use authority without becoming owned by it. When the listeners were ready, the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. He said, there is suffering, there is a cause of suffering, there is an ending of suffering, and there is a path leading to that ending. Bimbisara listened quietly. He had made decisions for many people, but now he sat as a student. He saw the fear that came from trying to protect what could not remain forever. He saw the tension created by status, possession, and expectation. He understood that suffering was not a sign of weakness. It touched servants and rulers, the poor and the wealthy. A crown could not prevent aging. An army could not defeat death. A palace wall could not keep change outside. The king saw that power could control some conditions, but it could not control all of life. This was why even a ruler needed refuge. Refuge did not mean hiding from responsibility. It meant having a direction when the mind became confused. It meant returning to wisdom when pride became strong. It meant returning to compassion when anger wanted to rule. It meant remembering impermanence when fear tried to hold everything too tightly. As Bimbisara listened, one truth became clear. Whatever arises will also pass away. His kingdom had arisen through many conditions. His body had changed from childhood to youth and would continue to change. Praise, blame, gain, loss, honor, and difficulty would all move through his life. This truth did not make life meaningless. It made responsibility more honest. If the throne could not belong to him forever, then it was something to use carefully while it was in his hands. If wealth could not remain forever, then it could be shared before it disappeared. If praise was unstable, then it did not need to control his choices. Early Buddhist tradition says that the Dharma eye opened for Bimbisara and many others who listened. They understood that all conditioned things arise and pass away. The king was deeply moved. He spoke about the 5 wishes he had carried since youth. Blessed One, I wished to become king, and that wish was fulfilled. I wished that a fully awakened Buddha would come to my kingdom, and today that wish has been fulfilled. I wished to meet that Buddha, and I have met you. I wished to hear the Dharma, and I have heard it. I wished to understand the Dharma, and now that wish has also been fulfilled. Bimbisara had achieved many worldly goals, yet the moment that touched him most deeply was not a military victory or an increase in wealth. It was the moment when confusion gave way to understanding. He said, "Wonderful, blessed one. It is as though something overturned has been set upright. It is as though something hidden has been revealed. It is as though a path has been shown to one who was lost. It is as though a lamp has been lit in the darkness." Then the king made his decision. "From this day until the end of my life, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha." These words did not mean that Bimbisara gave up his judgment. They meant that he had found a standard deeper than fear and desire. He would still need to rule and make difficult decisions, but now he had a place to return. The Buddha represented awakening. The Dharma represented the path of truth and practice. The Sangha represented those who lived and preserved that path. Taking refuge meant placing wisdom above pride, compassion above cruelty, and truth above convenience. The king invited the Buddha and the monks to receive a meal at the palace the next day. The Buddha accepted in silence. Bimbisara bowed and returned to the city. The next day, the king prepared food with care and served the Buddha and the Sangha. After the meal, he considered where the monks could stay. They needed a place quiet enough for meditation and close enough for people to visit. A place too near the city would be noisy. A place too far away would be difficult to reach. Bimbisara thought of a bamboo grove near Rajagaya. It was shaded, peaceful, and suitable for practice. It was not too far from the city and not too close to its noise. The king decided to offer the grove to the Buddha and the Sangha. He said, "Blessed One, I offer this bamboo grove to the community of monks led by the Buddha." The Buddha accepted the gift. The place later became known as the Bamboo Grove Monastery. It became one of the important early places where the Buddha and the Sangha stayed. Bimbisara's refuge did not remain only as a feeling in his heart. The peace he discovered within became a place where others could rest, practice, and hear the Dharma. If power serves only the ego, it becomes a wall. But when power is guided by wisdom, it can protect. When wealth is guided by compassion, it can support many lives. Bimbisara did not stop being king. He began to understand how kingship could become service. The bamboo grove also teaches that refuge should create room for others. When the king found a place of peace, he did not keep it only for himself. He offered land so that others could hear the Dharma. The inner refuge became an outer shelter. His understanding became support for a community. The gift showed that spiritual insight and practical care belong together. It asks what people need. The monks needed a place to stay. The people needed a place where teaching could be heard. The king had the ability to provide it, so he did. The king came seeking a teacher and left as a lay follower. He came with royal power and left with spiritual refuge. The refuge he found became the bamboo grove, where many others could rest. May you remember today that strength does not mean carrying everything alone. May wisdom guide the power you hold, and may compassion turn what you possess into a place of peace for others. May your heart find a quiet refuge that remains steady through gain and loss, praise and blame, power and change. The tradition of the Bamboo Grove Monastery. The first monastery offered to the Buddha and the meaning of having a place to stay. After King Bimbisara took refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, a new thought arose in his heart. He did not want his understanding to remain only as a private feeling. The Buddha and the monks needed a place where they could stay, practice, and teach. The people of Rajagaya also needed a place where they could come and hear the Dharma. Buddhist tradition remembers the bamboo grove as the first monastery offered to the Buddha and the Sangha. At that time, a monastery was not necessarily a large temple filled with permanent buildings. The bamboo grove was first a garden and forest placed at the service of the Sangha. It was a place where monks could rest, meditate, learn together, care for one another, and meet those who came seeking guidance. It became a foundation for a wandering community to pause, gather, and continue its practice. King Bimbisara looked at the monks who traveled with very few possessions. They carried robes and bowls. Some slept beneath trees, near rocks, or in open woodland. This simple life supported freedom from possession. Yet having no place to stay did not always make practice easier. When the body becomes exhausted, it is difficult to watch the mind clearly. When many people need to learn together, a community can scatter without a stable place. When a monk becomes ill or a new monk needs instruction, a shared place becomes important. Bimbisara understood that a place could shape the mind. A peaceful place could help the body rest. A noisy place could keep the heart unsettled. A place too far from the city might be quiet, but people would struggle to visit. A place too close might be easy to reach, but markets, carts, and crowds could disturb meditation. The king thought carefully. It should not be too far from the city. It should not be too close. Those who wish to hear the Dharma should be able to reach it. During the day it should not be crowded. At night it should remain quiet. These conditions showed the balance between practice and ordinary life. A practitioner should not disappear from people forever. But a practitioner should not become so lost in noise that the inner path is forgotten. A place of practice should remain open to those who need guidance while protecting enough silence for honest self-observation. King Bimbisara remembered a bamboo grove near Rajagaya. It was called Veluvana, the bamboo grove. Soft wind moved through the bamboo, and the noise of the city became distant there. It was close enough for people to visit and quiet enough for the monks to meditate. During the day, householders could come to hear the teaching. At night, the monks could return to stillness. The king believed the monks could meet the world there and then return to quiet practice. Bimbisara decided not to keep the grove only as a royal garden. He showed that the meaning of possession is not found only in having something. It is also found in how that thing is used. Tradition says that the king approached the Buddha with a golden water vessel used to confirm an important gift. He poured water and said, "Blessed One, I offer this bamboo grove to the community of monks led by the Buddha. May the monks stay here and practice. May many people come here and hear the Dharma." The Buddha accepted the offering. But he did not receive it as a private possession for himself alone. The grove became a place for the Sangha rather than a personal estate. One monk could stay for a time and later leave. Another could come after him. The place was not to be closed by one person's name, status, or desire. The Buddha then spoke to the monks. "Monks, I allow you to accept parks and groves as places of residence." This permission became an important change in the life of the early Sangha. The monks continued to live without attachment to houses and possessions. Yet they no longer had to reject every place of shelter. Using a place was not the same as clinging to it. Staying somewhere was not the same as saying, "This belongs to me forever." A place could support practice when it was used carefully, shared fairly, and left without attachment when the time came. This was the deeper balance represented by the bamboo grove. A monk did not need to treat discomfort as though suffering itself were holiness. But he also could not mistake comfort for freedom. The Buddha's middle way appeared even in the question of where and how to live. The monks were not asked to harm the body through unnecessary hardship. They were also not invited to become lazy inside comfort. The bamboo grove restored the body after long journeys and gave the mind space to gather. A person is not always living wisely simply because he never stops moving. Sometimes we must become still to see where we are going. When the body has a safe place to rest, the mind may finally become willing to face fear, desire, and grief honestly. A place to stay was not only a place to sleep. At dawn, monks could sit quietly and observe the mind. During the day, they could go for alms, meet people, and share the Dharma. In the evening, they could reflect on what they had heard and practiced. A monk with a question could ask an experienced teacher. A sick member of the Sangha could receive care. A newly ordained monk could learn the basic training. A community needs space not because space creates awakening, but because good conditions can support the work that leads toward awakening. The Dharma began with one person's realization. But for the teaching to continue, people needed to remember it, practice it, discuss it, and pass it on. The bamboo grove became one of the places where this could happen. The Buddha did not use the monastery to make people dependent on him. Those who came were taught to see and understand for themselves. When the time was right, monks were still sent onto different roads. The monastery was not a wall built to escape the world. It was a place where the mind could become clear before returning to the world. If a person carries anger and exhaustion into every meeting, even kind intentions may become harsh speech. But when the mind has been cared for in silence, the same truth can be offered with more patience and compassion. The bamboo grove also became a bridge between monks and householders. Lay people offered food and a place to stay. The monks shared the Dharma and a path of practice. Still, the Dharma was not payment for a gift, and generosity was not a business arrangement. Bimbisara did not offer the grove to make the Buddha a private teacher of the royal court. He opened the place so that anyone who sincerely sought the Dharma could come. He could create a helpful condition, but he could not command meditation, wisdom, or awakening. Those remained the responsibility of each person who entered the grove. The monks also had to care for the shared place, respect one another's quiet, and remember the purpose of practice. The grove supported the community, and the community had to preserve the meaning of the grove. A quiet forest cannot awaken a person by itself, but it can create enough space for that person to look inward. A good teacher cannot walk the path for a student, but the teacher can reveal where the student has gone astray. A community cannot remove every person's suffering, but it can help someone return to balance when walking alone becomes difficult. To have a place to stay also means having a place to return. In ordinary life, the mind becomes scattered by work, fear, desire, and conflict. Sometimes we lose sight of what matters. At such times, we need a place where we can pause, breathe, and look again. We may not have an ancient bamboo grove near us. Still, we can create a small place of practice. It may be a quiet corner, a few mindful breaths, a teaching we return to, or a relationship where we can speak honestly. These can become small monasteries of the heart. But such a place should not become a hiding place where we avoid life forever. After resting, we must return to family, work, responsibility, and other people. If stillness becomes separated from life, peace can become only private comfort. If awareness changes the way we speak and act, then rest becomes compassion. The monks stayed at the bamboo grove, but they did not remain trapped there. They taught those who came and traveled again when the time was right. The time of staying and the time of leaving completed each other. A person who does not know how to rest may become exhausted. A person who does not know how to leave may become attached to comfort. Wisdom knows when to stop and when to walk again. The bamboo grove represented a new balance. It held the freedom of wandering and the stability of community. It connected silent practice with service to the world. It joined the generosity of lay people with the discipline of the Sangha. One king offered a grove. That grove became a resting place for monks and a doorway through which many people could meet the Dharma. Bimbisara offered land, but the land came to hold questions, teachings, illness, recovery, meditation, and transformation. A good place cannot awaken us in our place, but it can give us the quiet needed to see the mind. It can offer a tired person somewhere to sit. It can allow people walking different lives to meet around a shared search for truth. The story of the bamboo grove asks us several quiet questions. Do we have a place where the tired mind can return? Does the space around us feed anger and desire, or help us observe them? Do we offer others a place where they can rest without being controlled? A resting place does not need to be a forest or a beautiful building. A heart that listens without judgment can become shelter. A few patient minutes offered to someone in pain can become a small monastery. We can allow another person to pause beside us without holding them too tightly. We can help them recover enough strength to walk their own path again. When King Bimbisara offered the bamboo grove, he did more than give the Buddha a pleasant place. He opened the possibility for practice to continue, for teachings to be shared, and for many people to find quiet. When the Buddha accepted the gift, freedom did not become the enemy of staying. Staying became preparation for compassionate movement. The silence of the bamboo forest did not remove people from the world. It helped them return with clearer minds and kinder hearts. May a quiet place be prepared within your heart today. May rest help you see yourself with honesty. And may the peace you receive become a warm place where someone else can pause, recover, and begin walking again. Sariputta and Moggallana meet the path. Two friends searching for truth discover the way. When the bamboo grove became a home for the early Sangha, two seekers in Rajagaya were still searching for a path beyond suffering. They were later known as Sariputta and Moggallana. Tradition remembers their earlier names as Upatissa and Kolita. They were close friends who had questioned life together for many years. They wanted to understand birth, aging, death, and the freedom that lies beyond craving and fear. At that time, they studied under a wandering teacher named Sanjaya. They learned discipline, debate, and many ideas, but their deepest question remained unanswered. They had heard many explanations, yet they had not found the end of doubt. They were not looking for another clever theory. They were looking for the deathless path. One day, the two friends made a promise. "My friend, whichever of us discovers the deathless path first must tell the other. Let neither of us keep the truth for himself." This was not a competition. They did not care who found the way first. They cared that neither friend would be left behind. Sometime later, Sariputta was walking through the streets of Rajagaya. There he saw a monk moving quietly from house to house for alms. The monk was Assaji, one of the Buddha's first 5 disciples. Sariputta did not know his name or the teacher he followed. Yet the monk's conduct made him stop. Assaji's gaze was restrained, his steps were calm, and every movement showed careful awareness. He did not appear hurried, proud, or distracted by the city around him. His body carried the quiet of a mind being trained. Sariputta thought, "This monk must have met a deep teaching. I should ask who his teacher is and what path he follows." But Assaji was still collecting food. Sariputta did not interrupt him. He followed at a respectful distance and waited until the alms round was complete. Then he approached and greeted the monk politely. "Friend, your face is clear, and your conduct is peaceful. Under whom have you gone forth? Who is your teacher? Whose teaching do you follow?" Assaji answered without pride, "There is a great ascetic who went forth from the Sakyan people. I have gone forth under that blessed one. He is my teacher, and I follow his Dharma." Sariputta asked, "What does your teacher teach? Could you explain the heart of his teaching to me?" Assaji spoke honestly, "Friend, I have only recently entered this teaching. I cannot explain the Dharma and discipline in great detail." Sariputta did not ask for impressive words. He wanted only the direction of truth. "Let it be brief or long. Please tell me only the meaning. Even a little will be enough if it shows the path." Assaji then spoke a short verse. "Of all things that arise from a cause, the Tathagata has explained their cause. He has also explained their ending. This is the teaching of the great ascetic." The verse was short, but it opened the door Sariputta had been seeking for years. Things do not appear without causes and conditions. Suffering also arises through causes. Craving, clinging, ignorance, and repeated reaction give suffering its fuel. If suffering has causes, then it is not an eternal prison. When those causes are understood and released, suffering can come to an end. As Sariputta listened, the eye of Dharma opened within him. He understood. Whatever has the nature to arise also has the nature to cease. Forms arise and pass. Feelings, thoughts, relationships, praise, and blame arise through conditions and pass when those conditions change. Even suffering is conditioned. Because it is conditioned, it can end. The teaching did not promise that pain would disappear through hope alone. It showed a path of understanding causes and removing fuel. Sariputta had heard only a few lines, but he saw a direction that many long debates had failed to reveal. He did not keep the discovery to himself. The first person he remembered was Moggallana. Their promise returned immediately to his heart. He asked where the Buddha was staying, and Assaji told him that the Buddha was at the bamboo grove. Sariputta then went to find his friend. Moggallana saw him approaching from a distance. He noticed that Sariputta's expression had changed. His face looked clear, and his steps carried quiet certainty. Moggallana asked, "My friend, your face is bright and peaceful. Have you found the deathless path?" Sariputta answered, "Yes, my friend. I have found the direction of the deathless path." Moggallana did not feel hurt because Sariputta had seen it first. He simply said, "Tell me how you found it." Sariputta described his meeting with Assaji and repeated the verse. "Of all things that arise from a cause, the Tathagata has explained their cause. He has also explained their ending. This is the teaching of the great ascetic." Moggallana listened with full attention. He did not accept the teaching only because Sariputta trusted it. He looked into his own experience. He saw that anger, desire, fear, and sorrow appear through conditions and are sustained by repeated thoughts and clinging. He saw that what arises is not permanent and that what is conditioned can cease. The eye of Dharma also opened within him. One friend had recognized the path first. The other received the teaching without pride. Their friendship allowed truth to pass freely between them. Sariputta did not make the teaching his possession. Moggallana did not turn learning from a friend into humiliation. They cared more about freedom than about who stood first. The two friends decided to go to the Buddha. Before leaving, they went to Sanjaya. They respected the connection they had shared with their former teacher and spoke openly. "We are going to the Blessed One. He is now our teacher." They also invited Sanjaya to come with them. They had found a new path, but they did not mock the person from whom they had once learned. Gratitude for past help and honesty about a deeper path could exist together. Sanjaya did not want to go. He tried to persuade them to remain. "Do not leave. Let the three of us lead this community together." But Sariputta and Moggallana were not searching for leadership. They did not want a larger following or a higher position. They wanted the ending of suffering. Their decision did not change. Early Buddhist tradition says that 250 seekers followed them toward the bamboo grove. They left a familiar place for a teaching they had only begun to understand. Familiarity can feel safe, but staying somewhere for a long time does not prove that it leads to freedom. There are moments when gratitude must be joined with courage. We may honor what helped us in the past and still recognize that it cannot take us any farther. The Buddha saw Sariputta and Moggallana approaching from a distance. He said to the monks, "Monks, look at the two friends who are coming. Upatissa and Kolita will become my two chief disciples." The Buddha saw not only who they were at that moment. He saw the qualities they would develop through practice. Sariputta and Moggallana approached, bowed, and asked to enter the path. "Blessed One, please allow us to go forth under you. Please receive us into the Dharma and discipline." The Buddha said, "Come, monks. The Dharma is well taught. Live the holy life for the complete ending of suffering." In this way, the two friends became disciples of the Buddha. Later, Sariputta became known for profound wisdom, while Moggallana became known for great meditative power. Yet their journey did not begin with fame or extraordinary ability. It began with a promise between friends, the quiet conduct of Assaji, and a few words about cause and ending. Assaji did not give a long sermon or try to appear important. He simply walked carefully, answered honestly, and shared what he understood. His conduct spoke before his words. Sariputta first saw the Dharma in the way Assaji moved through the world. A teaching is not carried only through explanation. It is also carried through restraint, patience, humility, and peace. Assaji admitted that he was new to the path. His honesty did not weaken the teaching. It made the teaching clear and trustworthy. Sometimes we believe we must know everything before we can offer anything helpful. But one sincere sentence, supported by an honest life, may guide another person toward a great change. Sariputta also showed an open mind. He did not judge Assaji by fame, status, or age. He recognized the fruit of practice in the monk's calm conduct. A closed mind waits for truth to arrive with a grand name. An open mind can recognize truth in a quiet step. The friendship between Sariputta and Moggallana shows the meaning of a true spiritual companion. A true friend does not hold us inside an old identity. When one friend finds a better direction, he shares it without pride. When the other hears it, he examines it without jealousy. Neither person can walk the path for the other. Sariputta could point toward the door, but Moggallana still had to see the teaching within his own experience. A good friend does not carry us to freedom. A good friend helps us see where freedom may be found. Assaji's short verse also carries deep hope. If suffering were fixed and without cause, there would be no path out. But suffering arises through conditions. Anger grows when painful thoughts are repeated. Craving grows when pleasure is treated as something that must remain. Fear grows when changing things are held as permanent. When these causes are understood, new choices become possible. The ending of suffering begins with seeing how suffering is made. The teaching is short, but it invites a lifetime of careful observation. What keeps this anger alive? What gives this fear its strength? What happens when the mind stops adding more fuel? Sariputta and Moggallana did not wait until they understood everything before going to the Buddha. They recognized a true direction and moved toward deeper learning. We also do not need perfect understanding before beginning. Sometimes one sentence clears the mind. Sometimes one peaceful life reveals that another way is possible. When that happens, we can take the next honest step. Their story began with simple things. A promise, a peaceful monk, a short verse, a friend who returned, a friend who listened. True friendship does not keep two people in the same place forever. It gives them courage to leave confusion and walk toward a deeper truth. May you meet companions who ask honest questions with you. May you recognize quiet wisdom when it appears. And may the light you discover become a gentle path that you share with those you love. Assaji's short verse. A few words opened Sariputta's heart. One morning in Rajagaya, the streets slowly awakened beneath the soft light of dawn. Among the people walked a monk carrying an alms bowl. His name was Assaji. He was one of the first monks to follow the Buddha. Assaji did not call attention to himself. His steps were calm, his eyes were lowered, and his movements were careful and restrained. When food was offered, he received it without excitement. When nothing was given, he moved on without disappointment. His quiet conduct revealed a mind being trained in awareness. A wanderer named Sariputta saw him from a distance. At that time, Sariputta had not yet become a disciple of the Buddha. He had spent many years searching for the truth. He had listened to teachers, considered difficult questions, and practiced with discipline. Yet one question remained open within him. Where does suffering begin, and how can it truly end? Sariputta did not know Assaji's name or the teacher he followed. But something in the monk's presence made him stop. Before hearing a single word, he sensed that Assaji had found a path worth knowing. The calmness did not appear forced. It seemed to rise naturally from a mind that had found a clear direction. Sariputta thought, if there are awakened disciples in this world, this monk may be one of them. I should ask who his teacher is and what teaching he follows. But Assaji was still on his alms round. Sariputta did not interrupt him. He understood that even a sincere question should be asked at the proper time. So he followed at a respectful distance and waited. When Assaji had finished collecting food, Sariputta approached him and greeted him politely. Friend, your face is clear, and your conduct is peaceful. Under whom have you gone forth? Who is your teacher? Whose teaching do you follow? Assaji answered simply, Friend, there is a great contemplative who went forth from the Sakyan people. I went forth under that blessed one. He is my teacher, and I follow his Dharma. Sariputta asked, What does your teacher teach? Could you explain the heart of his message to me? Assaji did not try to impress him. He spoke honestly about where he stood. Friend, I am new to this Dharma and discipline. I have not been ordained for long. I cannot explain the teaching in great detail. But I can tell you its meaning in brief. Assaji neither claimed more than he knew nor hid what he could honestly share. Sariputta did not demand a long sermon. He had already heard many words. What he needed was a true direction. He replied, Speak a little or a lot. Please tell me only the essential meaning. The meaning is what I seek. What use would many words be without it? Assaji then offered a short verse. Whatever phenomena arise from a cause, the Tathagata has explained their cause. He has also explained their cessation. This is the teaching of the great contemplative. The verse was brief. It did not explain every step of practice or answer every question about the world. Yet within those few words, Sariputta heard the shape of the path he had been seeking. Things do not appear without conditions. They arise because supporting causes are present. Suffering also has causes. It is not an unchanging punishment placed upon us forever. It grows through ignorance, craving, clinging, and the habits that continue to feed them. If suffering arises through causes, then its ending is also possible. When its causes are understood and no longer supported, suffering can cease. As Sariputta listened, the eye of Dharma opened within him. He understood. Whatever is subject to arising is also subject to cessation. This was not a dark conclusion that nothing matters because everything disappears. It was a liberating understanding. What arises through conditions is not fixed forever. Because suffering is conditioned, it does not have to remain unchanged. Because anger is fed, it can also be left unfed. Because craving is strengthened, it can also be weakened. Because fear is supported by thoughts and habits, those conditions can be seen. Sariputta did not receive a complete map of the path that morning. But he saw clearly where the path began. Instead of fighting only the painful result, he needed to understand what produced and sustained it. Instead of saying, this suffering is simply who I am, he could ask what conditions allowed it to arise. The short verse showed him that wisdom begins by looking at causes. It also showed him that freedom becomes possible through cessation. Assaji's words were short, but they were not shallow. A seed is small, yet it can hold the form of a great tree. A lamp may be small, yet it can reveal a path in darkness. In the same way, one clear teaching can contain the direction of an entire life. The power of the verse did not come from its length. It came from the truth it pointed toward. It also came from the readiness of the person who heard it. Sariputta had searched for many years. He had not hidden uncertainty behind pride. He had not pretended to be satisfied with answers that did not reach the heart of suffering. Because he remained honest, he was ready to recognize the path when it appeared. We often believe that change will come only after we receive more information. We collect teachings, explanations, books, and advice. Yet the problem may not always be a lack of words. Sometimes we have already heard what we need, but we have not looked at it deeply. The teaching of cause and cessation asks us to look honestly. What is keeping this suffering alive? What thought is being repeated? What desire is being treated as a command? What fear is being strengthened by imagination? What habit is adding fuel to the fire? To see a cause is not to blame ourselves for everything. The Dharma does not ask us to deny real pain or pretend that every condition is under our control. It asks us to see where a wise response is still possible. We may not control everything that happens, but we can learn not to create more suffering through hatred and blind reaction. We can recognize what must be accepted, what can be changed, and what should no longer be fed. Cessation does not mean becoming cold or empty. It does not mean destroying every feeling. It means allowing the fuel of suffering to come to an end. Pain may be present without becoming hatred. Sadness may move through the heart without becoming a permanent identity. Joy may be received without being held in fear. A feeling can arise, remain for a time, and pass without controlling every word and action. Assaji did not command Sariputta to believe him. He simply pointed toward causes and their ending. The work of observing remained with Sariputta. A true teaching does not make a person dependent on words alone. It invites direct examination. The Dharma can be heard from another person, but it must be examined within one's own experience. Sariputta did exactly that. Assaji's conduct opened the conversation. The meaning of the teaching opened Sariputta's heart. He saw that the words matched the structure of lived experience. This was not borrowed faith. It was the beginning of seeing for himself. Assaji's honesty is also part of the teaching. When asked about the Dharma, he could have tried to sound important. But he said, "I am new. I cannot explain everything." He showed that not knowing everything is not a failure. Pretending to know is the greater danger. Honesty protects both the speaker and the listener. It prevents pride from covering the teaching. It allows a person to share what is known without inventing what is not known. Assaji did not remain silent simply because his understanding was incomplete. He gave what he could give. He offered the essential meaning carefully and without decoration. Knowing a sentence is not the same as seeing its truth. Everything changes is familiar. Releasing the demand that something must not change is difficult. Suffering has a cause sounds simple. Watching that cause arise in thought, feeling, and action requires careful practice. A short teaching becomes living Dharma only when we test it in life. The verse did not finish Sariputta's journey. It opened the door. He did not believe that one moment of insight meant there was nothing more to learn. He wanted to meet the Buddha and train more deeply. A clear beginning should make us humble, not careless. One moment of clarity can change the direction of life. But direction must be followed by practice. Sariputta also remembered his friend Moggallana. They had promised that whoever discovered the deathless path first would tell the other. So the light received from Assaji did not remain in one heart. Sariputta carried the verse to his friend. Moggallana listened and saw the same truth. A quiet monk's conduct led to a question. An honest answer led to a verse. The verse opened one mind. That mind carried it to another. We cannot know how far one sincere action may travel. A patient response may stop anger from passing into another home. A truthful apology may break a pattern that has lasted for years. A calm presence may show someone that another way of living is possible. A few words spoken without pride may become a turning point in another person's life. Assaji's verse carried power because his conduct did not contradict it. His calm steps, restrained gaze, honest answer, and simple teaching all pointed in the same direction. Before teaching with words, he taught through the way he walked. We do not need to transform everything at once. Assaji did not explain the whole path in one meeting. He showed its direction. We can begin by choosing one form of suffering that often returns. We can observe what awakens it, what strengthens it, and what allows it to settle. We may discover that lack of sleep feeds irritation. We may see that repeated comparison feeds shame. We may notice that silence around an old wound feeds loneliness. Then we can change one condition with care. We can rest before speaking. We can leave a place that encourages harmful comparison. We can ask a trusted person for help. We can stop repeating one thought that keeps the fire alive. A small change in cause can lead to a different result. The path may begin with one honest observation. A monk walked quietly through Rajagaya. A seeker noticed his peace. A question was asked at the proper time. A new monk admitted the limits of his knowledge. A short verse revealed cause and cessation. And a mind that had searched for years finally saw where to walk. May the truthful words you need reach your heart clearly. May you see the causes that keep suffering alive without blaming yourself. May you gently release what no longer needs to be fed. And may the peace born from that understanding become a quiet light for others. Moggallana's deep practice. Why great ability still needs the right training. After hearing Assaji's short verse through Sariputta, Moggallana recognized that suffering arises through conditions and can cease when those conditions are brought to an end. He left his former teacher and went with Sariputta to meet the Buddha at the bamboo grove. Moggallana learned quickly. His concentration was strong, and he later became known as the Buddha's foremost disciple in spiritual power. Yet the early discourses do not describe a gifted man who passed through every difficulty without struggle. They show a disciple whose ability became dependable because he accepted correction, changed his method when needed, and did not hide his weaknesses. One day, Moggallana was practicing alone near the village of Kalavalaputta in Magadha. He sat down to collect the mind, but his body became heavy. His head began to fall forward, and awareness faded between wakefulness and sleep. The Buddha saw him struggling and appeared before him. He asked, "Are you nodding, Moggallana? Are you nodding?" Moggallana answered, "Yes, Lord." He did not pretend to be alert. He did not defend himself by pointing to his earlier progress. He simply admitted what was happening. This honesty became the beginning of useful instruction. The Buddha did not shame him for becoming sleepy. He also did not tell him to overcome the problem by force alone. Instead, he gave a series of practical methods, each aimed at changing a condition that supported the drowsiness. First, Moggallana was told not to keep attending to the same perception that was present when sleepiness arose. Sometimes the mind becomes dull because it remains pressed against one object in the same way for too long. Trying harder with the same approach may only deepen the heaviness. Changing attention is not giving up when the purpose remains clear. It is the difference between stubbornness and skillful persistence. If that did not work, Moggallana was to recall the Dharma he had heard and memorized. He was to examine its meaning carefully. A sleepy mind may awaken when it becomes actively involved in a clear teaching instead of sitting inside a fog. If silent reflection was still not enough, he was to recite the teaching aloud. The voice gives shape to thoughts that have become faint. Hearing the words can gather attention that is beginning to slip away. If drowsiness remained, the Buddha advised him to pull his earlobes and rub his limbs. This instruction shows that the body was not treated as irrelevant. Stillness, exhaustion, posture, and physical condition can affect attention. Sometimes the wise response is not another idea but movement. If that did not work, Moggallana was to rise, wash his eyes with water, and look around in every direction and upward toward the stars. Standing, washing, and opening the gaze changed the setting in which sleepiness had been growing. The Buddha then instructed him to develop the perception of light and cultivate a bright, unobstructed awareness. A mind that had become dim needed a deliberate movement toward brightness and openness. If the drowsiness continued, Moggallana was to practice walking meditation. He was to choose a measured path, remain aware of what lay before and behind him, and walk without allowing the mind to scatter outward. This was not restless pacing. Each step remained part of the meditation. The posture changed, but the purpose did not. Only after these methods had been tried did the Buddha speak about sleep. If the drowsiness still could not be overcome, Moggallana was to lie on his right side in the lion's posture, remain mindful, and form the intention to rise. When he woke, he was not to remain enjoying the comfort of lying down. The Buddha distinguished necessary rest from indulgence. When the body truly needs sleep, refusing to rest can make practice more confused. But when rest has served its purpose, remaining in bed can become another form of avoidance. Skillful effort knows both how to stop and how to begin again. The whole sequence was precise. Change the object. Reflect on a remembered teaching. Recite it aloud. Stimulate the body. Wash and open the eyes. Cultivate brightness. Walk with awareness. Then rest mindfully if rest is truly needed. The teaching treated drowsiness as a condition to be understood, not a moral failure to be punished. Moggallana's quick ability did not remove the need for this careful observation. In fact, strong ability made correct direction even more important. A powerful mind can move quickly, but speed alone cannot decide whether it is moving wisely. After teaching him how to work with sleepiness, the Buddha addressed other conditions that could disturb concentration. Moggallana was not to visit families expecting special respect. If busy householders failed to notice him, wounded pride could become agitation and weaken concentration. He was also told to avoid confrontational speech, because argument multiplies discussion and restlessness. The issue was not honest disagreement, but the wish to defeat another person. The Buddha also praised quiet places free from crowds and noise. Seclusion gave the mind enough stability to meet people without being ruled by pride, irritation, or exhaustion. Moggallana then asked how a practitioner becomes fully free through the ending of craving. He did not ask how to gain greater power. The Buddha directed him to observe every feeling, whether pleasant, painful, or neutral, as unstable, fading, ceasing, and not worth holding. This gave direction to all the practical methods that came before it. The purpose of overcoming drowsiness was not to prove toughness. The purpose of concentration was not to build an impressive identity. Wakefulness was needed so that experience could be known clearly without being turned into something to possess. Moggallana later described difficulties that appeared even in deep meditation. When he entered the first absorption, perceptions connected with sensuality disturbed him. At deeper stages, qualities belonging to an earlier state returned and interfered with the state he was trying to stabilize. The Buddha guided him to settle the mind again, unify it, and remain firmly immersed. These accounts show that reaching a meditative state once is different from mastering it. A brief experience may come through natural concentration. Stable mastery requires recognizing what weakens the state and knowing how to return without panic or pride. Moggallana openly acknowledged that he attained great direct knowledge with help from the teacher. He did not remove the Buddha's guidance from the story of his success. This honesty did not make his achievement smaller. It showed why his ability became reliable. A capable student remains teachable. He can receive correction without treating it as humiliation. Moggallana's greatness was not that no obstacle appeared. It was that an obstacle could become instruction. Drowsiness taught him to examine conditions. Correction taught him not to defend an image. Deep meditation taught him that early success still needed stabilization. Praise taught him to guard against expectation. Spiritual power taught him that strength must remain under the direction of liberation. The early texts remember Moggallana as foremost in spiritual power. Yet the clearest place to begin his story is not with extraordinary ability. It is with a tired practitioner who honestly admitted that he was nodding. That moment reveals the foundation beneath his later greatness. He could tell the truth before the Buddha. He could follow a sequence instead of demanding an instant result. He could rest without calling rest failure. He could rise without turning rest into delay. He could receive instruction even when his ability was already exceptional. Many people struggle because they use only one method. When concentration fails, they apply more pressure, and when the body is exhausted, they accuse themselves of laziness. Moggallana's training offers a different approach. Before judging yourself, examine whether attention needs a new object, the body needs movement and light, or genuine rest is required. These questions do not weaken discipline. They make discipline intelligent. Effort is not measured only by how long we remain in one position. It is measured by how faithfully we continue toward the purpose while adjusting the method. Changing methods can be a form of steadiness. Resting at the right time can protect the next period of effort. Asking for guidance can prevent long periods of confused repetition. A fast learner especially needs this balance. Early success can hide weak foundations. Praise can make correction feel threatening. Strong concentration can create the belief that ordinary habits no longer matter. But impatience, pride, argument, and poor care of the body can disturb even a powerful mind. The more ability a person has, the more carefully that ability must be directed. Moggallana's story is not a promise that everyone should progress quickly. His speed was his own condition. The teaching lies in what he did when speed was not enough. He listened, he adjusted, he practiced again, he allowed the teacher to reveal what he could not yet see. A slower practitioner may repeat the same methods for months or years. That does not make the path less genuine. A quick experience and a stable transformation are not the same thing. The meaningful question is whether awareness becomes steadier, conduct becomes humbler, and old harmful reactions become weaker. When fatigue interrupts something important, we do not need to call ourselves weak immediately. We can begin as Moggallana did by admitting the condition clearly. Then we can choose the next suitable step. Perhaps attention needs a new object. Perhaps the purpose must be remembered. Perhaps the body must move. Perhaps the environment needs light. Perhaps sleep is genuinely needed. And perhaps, after sleep, the practice must begin again without delay. Talent may open a door quickly, but it cannot walk through the door for us. The right method, honest self-observation, and willingness to receive guidance turn potential into a path. Moggallana became known for extraordinary power, but the quieter strength beneath that power was his ability to be taught. Today, may you recognize your condition without shame. Choose the method that truly restores clarity, and return to what matters with steady and intelligent effort. Mahakassapa takes refuge, the worn robe and the beginning of simple practice. On the road between Rajagaya and Nalanda, a solitary seeker walked in search of a true teacher. He was Kassapa, later known as Mahakassapa. He had already left household life behind. In an early discourse, he remembered thinking that life at home was crowded and dusty, while the homeless life was like the open air. He shaved his hair and beard, put on the ochre robe, and made an outer robe from pieces of discarded cloth. He did not leave because he hated the world. He left because he wanted to give his whole life to a path that could not be practiced carelessly. At that time, Kassapa had not yet met the Buddha. He dedicated his going forth to the awakened ones of the world and continued searching for the teacher he could truly follow. One day, near the Sariputta shrine, he saw the Buddha seated beneath a tree. No long sermon had been given. No ceremony had been arranged. Kassapa simply looked at the Buddha and felt that the teacher he had been seeking was before him. He approached, bowed at the Buddha's feet, and said, "The Blessed One is my teacher. I am the Blessed One's disciple." Then he repeated the words, "The Blessed One is my teacher. I am the Blessed One's disciple." This was not a formal refuge ceremony. It was a direct declaration that Kassapa had recognized his teacher and was willing to place his life under that training. The Buddha did not accept such complete trust lightly. He said, "Kassapa, if someone who did not know were to say, 'I know,' or someone who did not see were to say, 'I see,' to a disciple whose whole mind was focused in this way, his head would split apart. But I say, 'I know,' because I truly know. I say, 'I see,' because I truly see." The Buddha then gave Kassapa 3 trainings. The first concerned how he should live with other monks. The Buddha said, "Kassapa, you should train like this. A keen sense of conscience and caution will be present in me toward the elders, those of middle standing, and those newly ordained." Kassapa was not told to respect only senior monks. He was to guard his conduct before experienced monks, those in the middle, and those who had only recently entered the community. The first training protected Kassapa from turning simplicity into superiority. His worn robe would mean little if he used it to look down on another monk. The second training concerned listening. The Buddha said, "Whatever teaching I hear that is connected with what is skillful, I will listen with attention. I will receive it, focus my whole awareness, and lend an ear." Kassapa had recognized the Buddha immediately, but that recognition did not make further learning unnecessary. The Buddha instructed him to remain a student. The third training concerned the body. The Buddha said, "I will never abandon mindfulness immersed in the body and connected with joy." The body was not presented as an enemy to punish. The Buddha did not tell Kassapa that pain was holy or that harsher treatment of the body would prove greater devotion. Walking, sitting, breathing, bending, and stretching could all become places of training. Without mindfulness, simplicity can become neglect. Without joy, discipline can become bitterness. The three trainings formed a complete beginning. Care for others prevented strictness from becoming arrogance. Attentive listening prevented confidence from becoming closed-mindedness. Mindfulness of the body prevented simplicity from becoming self-punishment. After giving this instruction, the Buddha rose and departed. Kassapa later said that for 7 days he ate the food of the country as one still in debt to the donors. On the 8th day, final knowledge arose. At another time, the Buddha and Kassapa went to the foot of a tree. Kassapa folded his outer robe of patches into 4 layers and placed it on the ground. He said, "Venerable Sir, may the Blessed One sit here. That would be for my welfare and happiness for a long time." The Buddha sat on the prepared seat. Then he said, "Your outer robe of patches is soft, Kassapa." Kassapa replied, "Venerable Sir, may the Blessed One accept my outer robe of patches, out of compassion." The Buddha asked, "Then will you wear my robe made from worn-out hemp rags?" Kassapa answered, "I will, Venerable Sir." Kassapa gave his patched outer robe to the Buddha and received the Buddha's worn hemp rag robe. The exchange was quiet. There was no public ceremony or promise of rank. Kassapa did not receive a finer robe. He received something older, rougher, and already worn through long use. The early discourse records the exchange and Kassapa's description of himself as an heir to the Dharma who received the Buddha's rag robe. It does not describe the moment as a royal transfer of authority. Kassapa accepted a visible reminder of the life he had chosen. The robe did not promise comfort or special treatment. It connected him to a practice in which clothing served the body without becoming a measure of human worth. If the robe produced contempt, its purpose had been lost. The early discourses later praise Mahakassapa for being content with any kind of robe. He did not use improper methods to obtain one. He did not become anxious when he received nothing. When a robe was given, he used it without intoxication or bondage. The same description was applied to food, lodging, and medicine. Contentment did not mean refusing everything. It meant that he would not flatter, pressure, manipulate, or compromise his conduct to obtain support. When nothing was given, his mind did not collapse. When something was given, he used it without turning it into proof of his importance. Mahakassapa's contentment was measured by his conduct before receiving, while receiving, and after receiving. He did not make himself small to gain favor. He did not resent others when support was absent. He did not become inflated when support arrived. Later, when Mahakassapa was old, the Buddha saw that his worn hemp robes had become heavy for him. The Buddha said, "You are old now, Kassapa. These worn hemp rag robes must be burdensome. Wear robes offered by householders, accept invited meals, and live close to me." This shows that the Buddha did not treat hardship as sacred by itself. Age and physical condition mattered. Mahakassapa explained that he had long lived in the wilderness, gone for alms. Worn rag robes, used only the 3 robes, remained of few wishes, content, secluded, and energetic. The Buddha asked why he continued. Mahakassapa gave 2 reasons. The first was that this way of life provided a pleasant abiding for him in the present. His simplicity was not a punishment endured with resentment. It had become a peaceful way of living. The second reason was compassion for later generations. Future monks might see that senior disciples still valued wilderness, alms rounds, rag robes, few wishes, contentment, seclusion, and effort. They might understand that a monk's worth was not determined by fame or the quality of gifts received. Mahakassapa continued not because every person had to copy him, but because examples shape what a community learns to admire. The Buddha approved his reasons and told him to continue wearing cast-off hemp cloth, going for alms, and living in the wilderness. The approval was not praise for pain. It was praise for a practice that brought Mahakassapa peace and gave later practitioners a clear example. Austerity can be useful when it reduces distraction and supports training. It becomes harmful when it damages the body without purpose, creates pride, or is forced upon people whose conditions are different. Mahakassapa's path was not a command that everyone must choose the roughest option. His worn robe did not make every fine robe wrong. It showed that dignity does not depend on fine cloth. The question was not simply, how little do I own? The deeper questions were these. What am I willing to do in order to obtain more? What happens to my mind when I do not receive what I expected? Do I use what is given, or do I use possessions to construct an image of myself? Modern life does not require us to dress in discarded cloth or leave every home behind. But Mahakassapa's example can reveal where unnecessary weight has entered our lives. We may replace something that still works because we fear appearing behind others. We may measure our worth through brands, upgrades, invitations, and visible signs of success. Simple living begins by separating function from display. Care for health, safety, family, and responsibility is not opposed to simplicity. The question is whether possessions serve life or whether life is organized around serving possessions. Mahakassapa's worn robe was not valuable because it was uncomfortable. It was valuable because it did not demand that he betray his direction. He could receive what came without becoming proud. He could lack something without turning that lack into resentment. He could use something without asking it to tell him who he was. Taking refuge began with the words, "The Blessed One is my teacher. I am the Blessed One's disciple." But those words became real through the way Kassapa treated others, listened to teaching, remained aware of the body, and used material support. Refuge was not only a statement about whom he honored. It was a decision about what would guide his ordinary choices. The worn robe did not complete that decision. It reminded him to keep living it. The story of Mahakassapa asks us to look not only at what we possess, but at the conduct surrounding possession. Do we bend our values to gain approval? Do we become bitter when another person receives more? Do we use simplicity to judge those whose needs are different? A worn robe can be a tool for freedom. It can also become a costume for pride. The difference is found in the mind and in the way a person treats others. Mahakassapa's first lessons kept his path clear. Respect every member of the community. Listen fully to beneficial Dharma. Do not abandon joyful mindfulness of the body. His simple life was not empty deprivation. It was a disciplined choice to keep unnecessary demands from deciding the direction of his practice. May you clearly recognize what is truly needed and what only adds weight. May what you use support your responsibilities without becoming the measure of your worth. And may the space created by enoughness give you strength to live by what you deeply value.